to waste today for tomorrow. To our people that's lost in the dark, we can be guiding hand, shining star. If we only could see that the hero is here in our hearts, young as we are. We can stand and make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Stand firm, be a guiding light to the nation. Stand proud, let's unite in one celebration. With the power of God from above, we can tell all the world of His love. Standing firm in the faith, doing all of our work from the heart. We've got to start to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. For together we're strong now, it won't be for long till we heal this broken land. If we live what we've learned, take this time to take our turn to make a stand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one. We can make a stand.
Joy and compassion, creating change amidst our horizon, building a brighter future with youthful passion. So let us sing and dance for the Lord, spreading His words through this melody, uniting this nation. One in faith, hope, and charity. Let the love of God reign in our hearts, shaping the world with the gifts we impart. Beloved,
for a hero. How long must we waste today for tomorrow? To our people that's lost in the dark, we can be guiding hand, shining star. If we only could see that the hero is here in our hearts, young as we are. We can stand and make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Stand firm, be a guiding light to the nation. Stand proud, let's unite in one celebration. With the power of God from above, we can tell all the world of His love. Standing firm in the faith, doing all of our work from the heart. We've got to start to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. For together we're strong now, it won't be for long till we heal this broken land. If we live what we've learned, take this time to take our turn to make a stand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one. We can make the stand. Must we sit and wait for a hero? How long must we waste today for tomorrow? To our people that's lost in the dark, we can be guiding hand, shining star. If we only could see that the hero is here in our hearts, young as we are. We can stand and make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Stand firm, be a guiding light to the nation. Stand proud, let's unite in one celebration. With the power of God from above, we can tell all the world of His love. Standing firm in the faith, doing all of our work from the heart. We've got to start to make a stand.
Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand.
Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding.
Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world.
We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. For together we're strong now, it won't be for long till we heal this broken land. If we live what we've learned, take this time to take our turn to make a stand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding.
Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the
We
world.
cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand.
Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand.
Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding.
Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world.
We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one. We can make a stand. How long must we sit and wait for a hero? How long must we waste today for tomorrow? To our people that's lost in the dark, we can be guiding hand, shining star. If we only could see that the hero is here in our hearts, young as we are.
We can stand and make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand.
Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding.
Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the
'Cause
world.
we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Stand firm, be a guiding light to the nation. Stand proud, let's unite in one celebration. With the power of God from above, we can tell all the world of His love. Standing firm in the faith, doing all of our work from the heart. We've got to start to make a stand.
Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand.
Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding.
Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the
We
world.
cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. For together we're strong now, it won't be for long till we heal this broken land. If we live what we've learned, take this time to take our turn to make a stand. Let that voice voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Make a stand, arms apart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one. We can make the stand. Open your heart, someone is calling you now. Touch and reach out your hand. The journey of love has begun. Today a new beginning is good for everyone. Now joining hearts and hands, we can show the world we can live as one. One, so that all may be one. One like the Father and the Son. One, so that all may be one. That the world may believe and be one. Broken in different ways, yet all of us stand in the sun. Let's make the world a place where barriers of hatred are gone. The night is chased by this morning. The dawn of hope is so clear. The hope is so clear. We sense the one that is stirring. It is here in our hands. Can't you see? One, so that all may be one. One like the Father and the Son. One, so that all may be one. That the world may believe and be one. We want our lives to be for all the world to see. A sign of unity for all humanity. We want our lives to be for all the world to see. A sign for all humanity. One, so that all may be one. May be one like the Father and the Son. One, so that all may be one. That the world may believe and be one. One, so that all may be one.
Sound check. Sound check. Good morning and welcome to the first SLMCS Research Training Session in Updates. Thank you for attending this update.
So that all may be one, may we be one like the Father and of the Son, so that the world may believe and be one.
Good morning and welcome to the first SLMCS research training session and updates. Thank you for attending this half-day training session. This will guide you through your research endeavor, both from the school research paper and in your professional studies. We are live in Zoom and in FB. I am John Colagamayo, your research MC, Zoom facilitator, coordinator, and speaker of this event. While waiting for other participants, let me thank all those who participated in the recently concluded DCS LMES Research Capability Building Program. To Miss Ahero, Mr. Alcobendas, Miss Dichoso, Miss Guanson, and Mr. Discarga. Thank you so much for accepting the challenges done during the training, and I'm looking forward to capacitating the research knowledge of the institution through all of you. Thank you. As we begin this session, let us thank God for all the things that He has given to us. Let us pause and feel the presence of the Lord.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, Come, give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
God, the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you so much, and welcome to our research training session and updates. We will be oriented on the research construction, new updates on literature research, Google form creation and management, quantification, tallying, and analysis of its gathered data. This half-day activity will have the following objectives. The first one, recall possible research topics in the research agenda, orient neophytes and review research construction for school research or higher studies. Use different online and offline strategies and methodologies in doing research, and start doing your school research and your thesis writing, if any. If ever you are already enrolled into your thesis writing, it is already the time for you to start doing your research paper. We only have 44 participants, and I am still waiting at least 50, and then we will be starting. Where are the others? Can I have a roll call? Where are those? Echo. Okay, let's try to remove the echo. Let me remove first this stop share screen, and then okay. Remove the shared sound. Right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Kindly invite other participants to join the Zoom meeting. We are only 43 and I am expecting at least 50 to begin the session. Thank you po. Nag-echo pa po ba?
Wala na, sir.
Okay po. Thank you po. Okay, maybe we can begin. At least 45 participants. Let's wait na lang for the others while starting the discussion that we'll be having today. Okay po. So these are the objectives, and aside from that, it is a must for us to review the basic types of research we only have here. By the way, disclaimer, the speaker's presentation were based from research, knowledge, and experience. Some contents were taken from the respective individual authors, most specifically the general search engine used in searching for the details were YouTube and Google for video and some definition. The speaker recognizes them as the authors of some materials presented here. Let us try to review the basic type of research. We have here two major types, the basic, or what we so-called as the pure research. Its main purpose is adding some knowledge to existing one. The minimum result or output or product of a basic research is the research result, and the maximum is the intervention plan. So in basic research, you don't need to actually implement intervention plan. This is most specifically seen as just part of the recommendation. But when we talk about the applied research, the application of knowledge generated solution to social concerns as its definition, we are talking about the application of the intervention plan. That's the reason why I have placed here the minimum for the applied research or research results intervention, and the maximum is the known results of the intervention. So this is how you try to distinguish a basic as well as an applied research. In basic research, you are more focused on adding additional knowledge, and in applied research, you are focused on solving or trying to generate solution to a particular concern. That's the reason why we have here action research as the main type of applied research. And this can solve a specific problem, specifically the classroom problems that you encounter in your own department. So let's try to review the one that has been mentioned during the HR meeting, the HRDE meeting rather, regarding the title or possible topics based from our research agenda. Okay. So you can try to select or to choose different topics presented on the research agenda. These are not yet title. So as you try to make your title, kindly always remember the specificity, measurability, uh, attainability, reliability, and then time boundedness of a particular title. So you can try to select the different topics based from the following: challenges and the educational setup of the new normal per your department, implementation of learning management, fourth industrial revolution concerns and challenges. You can try to specify this possible topic for your research endeavor. Technological innovations and implementation, basic research on the new normal and effects of pandemic in the academic delivery, basic research to generate new knowledge and advance promotion of community outreach program or extension services of SLMCS. Basic research on the different academic disciplines such as education, business administration, hospitality management, sports, and alternative education program. We also have here research on the professional leadership development of the stakeholders, research aimed at producing or adapting education technology and developing educational programs in cutting edge such as techno-instructional materials, ICT, and entrepreneurial innovations, research on mitigation of climate change, research in aid of the national, local, and SLMCS development, guidance related researches, research on the national international priorities stipulated in the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We also have here impact evaluation of community extension services in SLMCS or enhancement and intensification of the CES in SLMCS. Best practices on sanitation and hygiene of SLMCS employees, on work-related practices, best practices on instructional delivery in the new normal, extent of co-curricular activities satisfaction in SLMCS, e-learning material, learning management system readiness of faculty and students of SLMCS, 2015 to 2022 tracer study, You can select from head, bed, SHS, or Gubat Campus. So tracer study are very important document of a school because these are somehow the basis of the different accrediting companies. They are trying to trace different graduates, specifically the alumni, and this is very important. 2021 job satisfaction of SLMCS employees, physical plant or periodic satisfaction level, profiling and feeding program services to adapted elementary school. So these are the possible research title that you may use in your school research paper. So I am not limiting uh, the different knowledge, or at the same time the different ideas that you will have, as long as it is connected to SLMCS. So let us now try to recall the possible tips and tricks in making research paper. So we will be reviewing the chapter by chapter presentation, and I will be incorporating some of the things that we have learned in the recently concluded DCSLMES Research Capability Building Program. So I'll be sharing to you some insights that I have learned from that seminar and training. Let us start by reviewing how to make the introduction. The definition for introduction is that it is the bird's eye view of your research. You will notice that once you try to read an introduction, you will know the scope of your research. Once we speak of the bird's eye view, we are talking about where are your research going. Okay, po, it can start with an impactful quotation, and at the same time, it follows the order of this one. The international, you have to start with the international or foreign scene. So you can try to paraphrase ideas and cite it properly. In the international setting, going to national or local scene of the central problem. Once we speak of the central problem, we are speaking of the title, and then proceeding to the regional, barangay, or specific school scene, and then end it with the purpose of your study. This is the pattern that we are usually following in our school, but it would be different from the other formats of the school. You have to take note that different schools require different format, but in our institution we have this kind of an inverted triangle formatting. So that's how we make our introduction. These are only tips and tricks on how you start doing your chapter by chapter presentation of your research paper, specifically the school research paper. So in making a statement of the problem, it usually specify the central problem that is your title. When we speak about, again, of central problem, we are speaking of the title, and the specific problems would now be stated in your statement of the problem. So we usually use this kind of formatting, but the number two there is somehow optional because they are only being used by a correlational study, specifically correlating one variable to another variable. And we have four classifications of the statement of the problems. We have here profiling questions. We usually try to ask questions that are respondent related, or at the same time variable or central variable related, such as, say, for instance, what is the profile of the respondents in terms of the educational attainment? hobbies, health condition, study, and home values. You can try to also connect this if your title is level of utilization and implementation of learning management system to this particular school. You'll be trying to profile not only the respondents, but you can already start what is the level of utilization of learning management system in this department, say for instance. So profiling question, you try to specify a particular problem that can be based upon the respondents as well as the major variable of your study. The next one is relation questions. This talks about the differences or similarities. We usually use this as what I have mentioned earlier. We are talking about, is there a significant difference between this variable to another variable, or are there similarities or significant similarities or relationship between this variable to another variable? So that type of question is a relation question. So that is somehow optional. If ever you are a math inclined person, you can try to use that and use different statistical formula that can be utilized in order for it to be quantified. Pero as much as possible, try to consult a data professional on how to quantify differences and similarities, because uh, you have to also uh, validate the questionnaire that you have in your questionnaire. So we also have here factors question. This talks about the questions such as what are the factors, what are the challenges, what are the satisfaction level, what are the effects, and etc. So you usually use factor question that are more specific of the variable of your study. Okay po. So we also have here producing questions, plans or interventions. This type of question would regard or would talk about what particular plans are you trying to implement or to give at least. So these are the structure of making of the statement of the problem. There are other things, most specifically, if ever you will try to what do you call this one? Change the nature or the design of your research paper. And that would be dependent on the panel instruction, because they have different format per school, as what I have mentioned earlier. So these are the guidelines in in uh, making your statement of the problems. So do not use questions that are answerable by yes or no only. Example, do you believe that? That's more subjective. Okay po ha. If you try to make qualitative research that can use a thematic analysis, manual coding, or the different qualitative tools that can qualify the data, then you will not be starting your question with somehow subjective, because that can be related, or at the same time that can be reflected upon your interview question. That can be, but not in your statement of the problem. Because we usually use here how and why if we talk about the qualitative research. But most specifically, the what question is somehow related to a quantitative. You can also use what in a qualitative in constructing statement of the problem. Do not use when and where as starting question. So, no, no, no po dito ha. When and where. Ano to? Paano to i-quantify? Of course, this does not belong in your minor variable, specifying the central variable of your study. So specify problems connected from your title. You will not be inputting statement of the problems or problems of your research that's not connected to your title. Okay po, I have observed in some students before that they can try to specify questions that are related to their title. So as much as possible, when you are a teacher in the research, try to strain very well their statement of the problem, because the reflection of your title or the reflection of a quality research paper is actually coming from the statement of the problem of your research paper. So that's how we make a statement of the problem. Another one we have here, the scope and the limitation of the study. We usually answer here the WH questions of your study. The what, the why, the where, the when, the who, the whom, the whose, and the how. So usually two paragraphs that can be scope and the limitation of your study. So it answers the WH questions of your research or research specificity. This usually contains two paragraphs, and this specifies everything in your title. So yan po ha. Some of the title includes respondent, but some of it do not have. Some schools requires it, some schools does not require it. As long as you maintain your research paper to be more consistent of the specificity, the smart characteristics rather. So we are done in the scope and the limitation of the study, that whatever is the specificity of your title, that must be reflected on your scope and the limitation of your study. So I hope we are clear in doing your scope and the limitation of your study. The significance of the study. This indicates the importance of your study from individuals, organizations, agencies, departments, and etc. So let's try to discuss some of it. Say, for instance, we are talking about individuals. So we are speaking of students, administrators, teachers, parents. And once we speak about the agency, say for instance, LGU, DepEd, SHED, and administrators. So aside from specifying the individuals, organizations, agencies, departments, you have to textualize the importance of your study in each of the individual organization, agencies, and departments stipulated in your significance of the study. So as much as possible, aside from indicating students, what is the research important to the importance to the students, to the administrators, to the administration, what are the importance of your present study to them? So that is how you construct the significance of your study in our school. The next one would be definition of the terms. It starts with the conceptual definition that are cited. When we speak about the conceptual definition, we are talking about dictionary-based or at the same time internet-based definition. You can try to cite them because you'll copy their definition based from the dictionary. You have to cite it properly, including the dictionary, specifically making notes as well as superscripting the definition. It will be followed by operational definition of terms that defines the word based from its usage to the research. So the operational definition of terms will be the next definition after the conceptual. The operational definition of terms talks about the definition of that particular word to your study. So aside from defining it from the dictionary, you have to define the word based from the usage of that word to your research paper. So this is the definition of terms. So this defines the major and some of the minor variables involved in your study. We have here in constructing notes, we usually use the American Psychological Association style with superscript. So it starts with the last name, first initial, period, open and close parentheses, year of publication, period, title, colon. Kung journal, kung meron man, italicized siya. Pero kung walang journal, yung italicized po is yung title, period, retrieved from. So here's the examples. Example lang po to ha, hindi po to publish. This is just an example. Okay, Lagamayo J, period, the year, educational challenges in the new normal in Sorsogon City during pandemic. So I've placed here colon, and that is coming from International Journal of Teachers. You have to be reminded that in creating an APA style, we have now the sixth edition and the seventh edition. They do have very different type of citation. But I will not be mentioning that because that's a very long session that would be dependent if you try to cite in a particular book, in a particular resource, or in a particular journal, magazine. So they vary from format to format. So we have two classification of noting or end noting. We have here the in-text citation. Yung in-text citation, yun yung nakikita natin na before paragraph or after paragraph, yun yung may apelyido. So, halimbawa ngayon, Lagamayo 2022 states that blank, 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 and then the explanation. Or you can start your statement or the copied or the paraphrase statement coming from Lagamayo and then end it with the author. So you have to be reminded of the formatting in terms of the in-text citation. So once you start with the author, start with the surname, open and close parentheses, then the year. But once you end it, but once you try to use the format, uh, paragraph first and then the author, you try to close in the surname as well as the year it was published and divided by a comma. So end noting is just like what we have mentioned here, end notes example. Aside from the in-text citation, you'll be having the end noting. Later on, I'll be trying to discuss on how to search properly in terms of your literature search. So far, do you have any question for our research paper? Research paper making. Okay, pwede po hingi ng copy of PowerPoint presentation after po. Yes po, I will be giving you including the video presentation saved on the cloud, as well as you can try to access the training in my personal account in Facebook. Yes, I will also be sending you once you have already evaluated the evaluation for this training. So far, do you have any question for the chapter 1 tips and tricks? Okay, thank you, Sir JP. So we don't have, I think, questions. Okay, thank you. We are still accepting participants from the outside. You can invite your students and at the same time, some of your colleagues doing research because this can also be of help to them. So we have a chat. Thank you, sir. It's clear po. Oh, thank you, Ma'am Harabo. Okay po. Let us now proceed to foreign and local literatures and studies. So this is the common format in our school paper, school research paper. So both foreign and local, we are required to search at least 10 literature as well as studies. So here are some guidelines in doing our literature search or study search. Superscripting must be ordered based from the chapter notes order with numbering. So as you try to make your endnotes, make sure that whatever is the order from your foreign and local literature and studies must also be the order from your endnotes. So nakikita ko kasi sa iba na may 1 dito tapos may 2 dito tapos ano na sila, jump in na sila sa 10. Oh my God, where are the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Nawawala. So, be vigilant in superscripting literature. In our school, we are required to superscript aside from in-text citation and the endnoting because in order for us to locate easily. So yeah, superscripting is very important in our school research paper. Use original authors once you try to relate other literatures and the studies to your topic. Ito yung nagiging problema eh. Most of the students try to copy the synthesized literature coming from the different sources. That's very wrong because they are trying to copy the synthesized part of a particular source na siya yung gumawa tapos linalagay nila sa review of the related literature, which is very wrong for of that particular source and cite it properly in your research paper. So you try to copy a paragraph or at the same time quotation coming from one author, try to relate it to your study, and try to relate it to another paragraph or to another article that you have searched. So as much as possible, do not copy the synthesized idea of a particular author na synthesize na sa lahat-lahat. Eh, yun yung nagiging problema. Kinakopy talaga nila lahat, which is very wrong. And that is already one of the causes why we have plagiarism nowadays in our students. So, yan po. Always use superscript in order every copied or paraphrased article, literature, study that is related to your study, and after putting it, order them with numbering on the chapter end notes that was already explained on the first bullet. Do not copy and paste one reference with his own synthesized and summarized articles from various sources. That was also explained on the second bullet. Locate original authors, cite and paraphrase them ethically and individually in your research paper. So different authors that will be reflected on your foreign and your local literature and studies must be cited properly in order to prevent plagiarism. Okay po. Online sources, we will now be entering the different online sources that we can use in our literature search and studies. So we have here the main one, the Google Scholar, the ERIC, Institute of Educational Sciences, Semantic Scholar, Baidu for Chinese individual, academia.edu, core, and then the research brigade. We will be starting first with the pro tips in literature search for Google Scholar. Ayan. Although Google Scholar limits each search to a maximum of 1,000 results, it is still too much to explore, and you need an effective way of locating relevant articles. Well, we have put together a list of pro tips that will help you save time and search more effectively. So, under the Google Scholar, once you try to search for machine learning, they will produce the same result as a search for machine learning. Never use here long sentences because Google Scholar will not find anything when you try to place here long sentences. Later on, we will be oriented on how we utilize Google Scholar for our article search or literature search. Use keywords instead of full sentences. So sabi ko nga kanina, we don't use full sentences in searching for Google Scholar in terms of our search for articles and studies. Let's say your research topic is about self-driving cars. For a regular Google search, we might enter something like, what is the current state of technology used for self-driving cars? In Google Scholars, you will see less than ideal results for this query. The trick is to build a list of keywords and perform searches for them like self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles, driverless cars. Yan, mga ganyan lang, mga keywords. Google Scholar will assist you in that. If you start typing in the research field, you will see related queries suggested by the scholar. Oh, we have here, use quotes to search for exact match. So if in case you try to search for educational challenges, you key in open and close quotation, and then the Google Scholar will search everything that contains the exact match for the uh, educational challenges, say for instance, if that is the word that you are trying to search. So quotation is very important in Google Scholar searching. Add the year to the search phrase to get articles published in a particular year. So say for instance, you are talking about self-driving cars 2015, and then that will return to articles or books published in 2015. So if you are more concerned to a particular year, then you can try to place the year where it was published. So those are the things that can be utilized, the open and closed quotation, as well as we have here the year it was published. Use quotes to search for an exact match. Yan, nasabi na natin. Ito pala. Use the sidebar controls to adjust your search results. So later on, I will be using the sort out machine that is available to Google Scholar. But let's try to discuss everything about these things. Okay po. Using the options in the left panel, nasa left panel yung control, you can further restrict the search results by limiting the years covered by the search, the inclusion or exclusion of patents, and you can sort the results by relevance or by date. We have here Boolean operators. Some of you may not have heard of these Boolean operators that are currently being used in our Google Scholar. Boolean operators are capitalized words that are placed in two words, conjunction, ba? Parang ganyan. So, and or not, and not. So we have here four classifications of Boolean operators, and this vary in accordance to your literature search. These are used in the conjunction to combine or exclude keywords in search, resulting in more focused and productive results. This should save time and effort by eliminating inappropriate hits that must be scanned before discarding. Using these operators can greatly reduce or expand the amount of records retained. Boolean operators are useful in saving time by focusing searches for more on-target results that are more appropriate to your needs, eliminating unsuitable or inappropriate words. So use Boolean operators to better control your searches. Searches are not case sensitive. However, there are numbers of Boolean operators you can use to control the search. And this must not be capitalized. This must be capitalized rather. Okay. And requires both of the words or phrases on either side to be somewhere in the record, not can be placed in front of a word or phrase to exclude results which includes them, or will give equal weight to results which match just one of the words or phrases on either side. So in case you got overwhelmed by those many options, let's try to have an example. So we will be searching here for the Google Scholar. So this is the portal of the Google Scholar. So there are many options here. My library, metrics, alert. Later on na tayo niyan. Let's try to use the Google Scholar using Boolean operators. Let's say we are searching for educational challenges. Educational challenges. Okay. So the usual, hindi, bakit naman 21st? Okay. The usual product of not using yet the Boolean operators would mean different things. They will try to search all all studies or all literatures that contains educational as well as challenges. So, say for instance here, my educational challenges. Dito naman, my future challenges for educational practice, which is very, what do you call this? Very sporadic or very, uh, watak-watak ang pagkaka-place ng challenges as well as educational. But when you try to use open close quotation, let's try. They will, okay. Wait, what happened here? Educational challenges. Nag-auto search yung ano. Okay. So when you try to use uh, open and close quotation, educational challenges that will exactly match educational challenges. So whatever it is, as long as it is educational challenges, that is being searched by the Google Scholar. So you use open close quotation in order for you to have the exact match of your word or phrases. So let's try to use education and challenges. We are now using Boolean operators and the end must be capitalized. So let's try to see the results. Oh, okay na. So we have here the and the Google Scholar will search for educational as well as end challenges. So just like a while ago that they are in different course or in different setup or location. So ayan, hindi po siya magkasama na educational challenges kasi you are trying to find educational and challenges. So therefore, the Google Scholar will try to search for the two terms, challenges and educational. So let's try to put or. Ayan. So, as the definition for or under Boolean operators, or will either reflect educational or challenges. Ayan po, kasi nag-iisa na lang, naging challenges na lang, or nagiging educational na lang. They are not both combined. You have to take note of the or Boolean operators. So uh they are not together. So we also have here, ano pa yon? Not. How do we use not? Not. I repeat, in using Boolean operators, as much as possible, try to capitalize it because if it's not capitalized, they will also be searching that the Google Scholar will also search the word not. So as much as possible, try to uh, capitalize the Boolean operators. Yan. So we have here the same as end. This is the same as end. So challenges for educational research, challenges, they can either be and or. So ito pong nanat na to, they can either be educational or challenges or simultaneously reflected on the Google Scholar search. So I hope Boolean operators for you are already cleared in using on the Google Scholar. Let's try some other search material. Say for instance, we'll be having here ano pa yung mga research title na gusto nyo? Challenges in the new normal. Nasabi ka dyan, 2021. Okay po. So we have here, or let's try to be more specific. Let's try to use an open and closed quotation. So there are no search result because I have placed here 2021 inclusion of the text that I am searching. But let's try to have this one. Challenges in the new normal. So I'll be having here the different possible articles or possible literatures here. So say for instance, we have here entrepreneurship education based on environmental insights, opportunities and challenges in the new normal era. So let's try to open it. And at the same time, we can just see here the abstract. Some of the abstract from the Google Scholar do not contain the findings or conclusions. That's the reason why you have to search for another that contains the findings or the conclusions of their study to cite it in your research paper, specifically in your research chapter 2 of your study. So as much as possible, when you try to, what is that? Okay. Ma'am Mary Ann, naka-open po ata yung mic mo po. Thank you po. Okay. So once you try to select a particular part in a particular article, you have to focus your attention. Okay po. Ma'am Mary Ann. Thank you po. Okay po. So you have to focus your attention in the research method, the research findings, and the results of a particular article. So in this case, meron ba tayong result? Wala. So try to find another one. So, say for instance, ito yung topic natin and we'll try to find counseling challenges in the new normal. So sometimes the Google Scholar will search it very slow. Ayan. So we have here located a particular finding. This study aims to find out challenges that blah, blah, blah. It also aims to blah, blah, blah. And it found out that. So you try to focus more on their findings or the conclusion of their study before citing it into your related studies or literature. So somehow you can already paraphrase this one in connection or in support to your research paper. So you try to zero in the key concepts that are reflected on their findings, on their methodologies, and at the same time relating it to your present study. So that is how you try to construct your research paper under your review of the related literature. So as much as possible, try to paraphrase this one and try to relate it to your present study. So that is how we usually use literature synthesis and the presentation of the literature review. So, yan. We are done done already from the Google Scholar. Do you have any questions so far in the Google Scholar? Wala po. Okay, so far siguro ko ano naman na, clear. So let's proceed. I will not be presenting to you everything na isa-isahin ko tong mga different uh, different online sources. You can try to search it individually. So, yan. Okay po. Let's try the semantic scholar. There are also a lot of different search engine that can be used in order for you to search articles like semantic scholar. Let's try to search semantic scholar here. Ayan. So just like the Google Scholar, we have Semantic Scholar. So I will not be signing in po ha kasi ang iba dyan may mga paid materials. So say for instance, we will be searching for, again, challenges in the new normal. So this engine will be searching for the challenges in the new normal. Let's try to put open and closed quotation. Ayan. Hindi po siya gumagana dito. For Google lang yung Boolean Operators. Ayan. So you can try to search from here, and at the same time, all other things presented in this PowerPoint presentation, the ERIC documents, ResearchGate, core, academia.edu. I'll be giving you a recording of this training so that you can also try to recall the different online sources for studies and literature search. Okay. Okay, we're done with this one. Let us now talk about the synthesis of the state of the art and how do you usually construct it. Synthesis of the state of the art are summary of connectedness, comparison, similarities, and differences of the foreign and local studies presented on your chapter 2. Some of the schools require a synthesis of literature, inclusion of that. But in our school, we only synthesize local studies presented on your chapter 2. You try to summarize the the different studies or the different journals presented in your local and foreign studies. So yan, you try to compare or to contrast the differences or similarities of one particular author to another author, or you can try to contrast it to your research paper. So that's how we make synthesis of the state of the art that would include all of the studies reflected upon your research chapter to local and foreign studies. So that's how we create synthesis of the state of the art. We now proceed to the gap bridge of the study. This is usually one paragraph only that can be, or at least two paragraphs that can also be. This talks about the originality or uniqueness of your study as compared to the previous study stipulated in your chapter 2. The reason why you have synthesis of the state of the art is in order for you to know the gap, to know the originality of your research paper that were not presented to the previous study or literatures that you have in your uh, research paper. So that's how we make gap bridge of the study. We try to locate, we try to cite here the uniqueness or what are the things that are not mentioned in the past literature or the past studies that are present in the current study. Yun yung pinaka-safe eh. Yung ibang ano, yung ibang mga estudyante yung gap bridge nila is palaging respondents kasi naiiba yung respondents. So as much as possible, try to think other things rather than your respondent as the gap of your study. Because this is not only respondent specific. We are also talking about the major variable of your study, and that is your title. So as much as possible, try to find a particular gap that is related or connected to the major variable of your study, not only focusing more on the respondents. Kasi talaga naman magkakaiba eh, kahit pare-parehas yung nature of your research paper kapag naging respondents na ang pinag-uusapan. So, as much as possible, try to locate other uniqueness of your research paper rather than only indicating respondents. So I hope we are clear for that matter in the construction of your gap bridge by this study. Okay po, so in our school research paper, this is optional in making a framework, paradigm, both theoretical and conceptual, but mostly theses are required for making these things. So in other school, once you talk about the framework, it already included the paradigm. But in our school, we usually separate it. The paradigm is the illustration that is usually formatted from the illustration followed by the figure title and then the figure number. That is both similar to the conceptual as well as the theoretical paradigms. Okay po. The framework in our school discusses the theories related to your research theory. So whatever things that are placed in your paradigm are being tackled or discussed in your framework. So as much as possible, you try to search for theories related to your central problem or to the nature of your research in terms of the different theories that might have connection to your research paper. We also have here the conceptual framework. This talks about the input, processes, output, and the outcome of your study. So you try to discuss the different inputs that your research is currently uh, using. The process, what are those methodologies that you are using? And then the output, the result for the input. And then the outcome of your study. What are the expected outcome of your study? If it's just intervention lang, walang implementation, that can be. Or kung gusto mo i-implement yung intervention plan and then see the result, if it's effective or not, then that's okay. Okay po. So these are theoretical and conceptual framework and paradigm. Okay, let's proceed. Do you have any question on our chapter 2 review? By the way, for those who are asking, I don't have any material here. If you are asking in the Facebook Live, I cannot see your questions because I only have here one PC. So as much as possible, try to comment your questions on the Zoom portal. We can still accept participants. We only have 74 participants and we can accommodate up to 300 already. So thank you for participating and I hope you are learning. None so far. Very good, Sir JP. Thank you po, Ma'am Gina. Okay po. Thank you po, Ma'am Harabo, for the comment. Free po to search online. Yes po, specifically on Google Scholar. Google Scholar offers free different uh, search materials and some of the search engines require subscription, but since we only have very limited resources, that's the reason why I only have presented the Google Scholar. Yes po ma'am, Google Scholar is very free. You just need to be very well oriented with the usage of Boolean operators so that you can try to search or to search properly the different things that you are searching related to your research paper. Thank you. We are now on the research design and methodology. Okay. We have here the quantitative as well as the qualitative. The nature of respondent selection for quantitative is what we so-called as random. Once we talk about the randomness, we are talking about the researcher that does not have any jurisdiction on the selection, on the specific selection of the respondents. There are particular format here under the random sampling, particular formats such as the non-random, such as the simple random sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, and the likes. Okay po ha, random sampling are usually implemented on a quantitative research design. So the researcher does not have the authority to alter the randomness of selecting respondents. While in a qualitative portion, we usually have here the non-randomness or the researcher have the authority to at least try to select their appropriate respondents. So non-random sampling would involve the purposive sampling or the judgmental sampling. You try to pick your own respondents and try to validate the data gathered from that respondent, even if it's observation, interview, panel discussion, that can be in terms of qualitative portion. So non-randomness may also include the what we so called as the uh, snowball sampling. You try to refer a particular referral on whom can be your respondents. So that can be. So qualitative, mostly they use non-random sampling. And at the same time, if you try to combine qualitative and quantitative, you are using the mixed methods. Specifically, these are being done in some schools and even in our schools. We usually use a mixed method wherein we try to combine sample statement of the problem that is more on a quantitative and sample statement of the problem that are more on a qualitative. So these are the example research designs under quantitative. We have here the experimental. These are being used mostly on the setup of sciences, pure sciences, wherein you will be having here the controlled and the dependent, ganyan, dependent variable, independent variable, and at the same time, the controlled group or the uncontrolled group. So there's another explanation for experimental, but this time I will not be able to explain everything under experimental because it costs a lot of time. Okay po. Quasi-experimental is as easy as pre-test, intervention, as well as post-test without talking about the control and uncontrolled group in a quasi-experimental. Kapag sinabi natin quasi or quasi, we are speaking of only involving the pre-test, post-test, and pre-test intervention as well as the post-test method, and then try to report it in your study. So, yan. Quantitative is also descriptive. Descriptive type of research is a quantitative research design. Okay po ha. So, this uses only simple statistical terms or tool such as a frequency count, mean, uh, yan, mga ranking. So, descriptive yan. Pero once we talk about the qualitative, we are now talking about the narrative research design. Okay po ha. Narrative and descriptive is very different. Narrative, once you talk about that, you are talking about the narration or at the same time the experiences that are being answered by your respondent uh, in your interview. Okay po. Comparative, you usually use this comparing the past to the present study. And then the correlational, we correlate one variable to another variable if it's significantly different or significantly uh, related. Okay po. So we also have here under qualitative, the phenomenological research that was already tackled by Dr. Despi when we had our research discussion that talks about the lived experiences or the lived experiences, and ethnography talking about the different cultures, ethics, traditions of a particular set of people, such as niya, halimbawa ngayon, study on why badyaws are increasing during Christmas season. That's what I remember during the past seminars that we had. What is the reason why badyaws are always here during Christmas season? And the very significant result there is actually mas damo ang naghahatag kung Christmas. So yan, that's very significant. result, talking about ethnography. Historical, that would talk about the history, and at the same time, the very long, that is a very long uh, qualitative research design. While the grounded theory uh, would talk about the submission of the researcher to the particular scenario without having known na siya pala ay researcher. So he or she tries to observe, try to also live with the particular respondents, observe and try to gather data without him or her knowing na siya pala ay nagiging researcher. These grounded theory are actually being utilized sa medyo sensitive or sensitive specifically to the other locations that are location sensitive or at the same time data sensitive. So grounded theory yung usual na ginagamit dyan. So yan. We have here treatment or analysis of data. In our quantitative design, we usually use survey or questionnaire. In our qualitative design, we usually use interview, observation, focus group discussions, record keeping, or longitudinal method. So, in creating or crafting uh, in terms of collecting data, we use questionnaire for quantitative, and in qualitative design, we use interview, observation, focus group discussions, record keeping, or longitudinal method na that would take time na validity of answers. Okay po, in quantitative design, we use the different statistical formula such as frequency, ranking, percentages, weighted means, interpretation, or even higher portion, the Pearson product moment coefficient correlation, analysis of variance, single factor, or kung mag two-factor pa kayo dyan, Spearman's rank correlation, regression, and so on. So the usage of the third example here would mean a mathematical person so that he or she can report it properly in the data interpretation. Okay po. In a qualitative design, how do we qualify data is through manual coding, thematic analysis, and then content analysis. You try to search for the definition of manual coding, thematic analysis on how different data coming from different respondents are being contacted and being compacted into a particular or single data. That is how we usually use manual coding. Different perception, different interview, different observation, and we try to compact it into a particular or single data. So that's how we usually use manual coding. There are also softwares used for thematic analysis that can be downloaded. So you try to search it and they are very available in the Google. Somehow kasi yung thematic analysis may page siya specifically transcription and other matters that are connected to your interview. Transcription pa lang talagang mapapagastos na tayo dito. So yan, those are how we quantify or how we qualify data coming from the quantitative research design and a qualitative research design. So yan, we are now entering survey questionnaire making. So yan, questionnaire types. We have here open questions, free to answer. Kapag sinabi nating open question free to answer. Sila yung pwede mag-input ng answer. Pero most specifically, in our questionnaire making, this is being discouraged. Kasi kahit ano-ano na lang, specifically kung mga estudyante yung mga respondents natin. Kasi ano-ano na lang ang sinusulat nila sa open question. Magpapa-enumerate ka tapos iba-iba yung sinasabi. Kaya usually open questions are discouraged in specifically if it's quantitative one. Okay po ha. The example of open question that can be also reflected when you try to make your test question together with your TOS, enumeration, checklists, pwede yan. Included pa po dito yung checklist, tapos yung others, please specify. So that can be still included under open question kasi meron siyang others, please specify. Mga fill-in, mga long or short answers, those are considered open questions. Yan. And they are usually being summarized or analyzed using tallying, frequency count, percentage rank, summarizing, and then coding. So yan. We try to gather data using open questions by means of only tallying, coding, summarizing data coming from the respondents. We also have here close-ended questions, limited that can be dichotomous, polychotomous options. Kapag sinabing dichotomous, dalawa lang yung option. Poly means marami. Okay. Checklist, multiple choice questions. The multiple choice questions are being used more specifically on a particular test, mga pre-test, post-test, then assessing results, and then coming up with a solution. So yan, they are being tallied, frequency counted, percentage, and ranked. Okay po. Close-ended question would also involve here scaling questions like the very familiar with us rank or Likert scale. The usual format for ranking, you try to have the different indicators, and at the same time, after those indicators, you try to place different spaces, and then the respondents will be ranking them from 1 to 10 nga, for instance. Parang grammatical, ano lang ha, grammatical order, or at the same time, we are speaking of the storytelling ranking. Parang in-order natin. So that is one of the examples of a rank or like rank scaling type of question. Okay po. So we also have here Likert scale. Ang ibang pag-pronounce Likert scale. Okay. We usually have here tallying, frequency count, weighted mean, verbal interpretation, and rank. That is how we usually use the statistical tools for our scaling questions. So that can be delivered through computer. Sa computer, pwede na po natin dito gamitin yung Google Forms. Google Forms have the ability to already gather results based from the qualification or based from the respondents that you'll be having. The only the only way of validating respondents here is to gather some particular data because somehow Google Forms can be answered by the different type of person that you set as a respondent. Possible yan sa Google Form. But talking about a particular uh, information that would lead to your verification of that student or that respondent to be your respondent would be of great help in determining the validity of your respondents or the inclusivity of your respondent to your research paper. So We try to have that through computer, through telephones, by means of interview. If they are not physically available, then you try to have your telephone interview. Okay po. So you can try that. We also have here face-to-face. Face-to-face, the usual interview, the panel discussion, that can be, as well as the mail distribution as one of the distribution of your research questionnaire or interview. So far, is it clear po? Say yes to the chat box if it's clear. Thank you po. Thank you so much for those who answered yes. Okay, thank you. This time, I will be showing you the different types of questionnaire. Hindi ito. Excuse. Okay. By the way, this has been made by Mr. Rafi, my MG. I am already training him on the research processes as well as the computational statistics using Excel. So yan, siya po yan ang gumawa. So checklist, the usual pattern for checklist is this one. How do we present checklist in our chapter 4? So let's try to have an example. I-auto-hide the ribbon lang natin. And then let's try to insert table. How do we present checklist? So yan ang example ng checklist natin. And then we'll be creating table. Say for instance, ayan. So checklist that has a title of challenges of students faced in the new normal. So we usually try to copy this. We are now speaking of how do we present checklist in our chapter 4 after determining the tallied records. Okay po, so we usually put here challenges faced by the students in the new normal. And then checklist would have only the frequency count, the percentage, and then the ranking. Ayan. Later on, I'll be teaching you after the first part. I'll be teaching you on how to use Excel in determining the percentage as well as the ranking automatically. If we are now talking about the higher data using the results coming from the Google Forms. Okay po. So this is the checklist and this is how we present data in our chapter 4. By the way, for those who are already very good with this one, kindly please stay with us. Okay po. So thank you. And then, so say for instance, these are now the challenges and you have already tallied it. We'll be copy and pasting it here. So say for instance, we only have 4. And then, ayan, may total siya. Center. Yan. So halimbawa, under our frequency, we only have natali na natin yung checklist and then nag-count yung risk of being infected into 50, and then ito naman niya uh into 20, and then this one would be 10, and this one would be still 20. So we have 100 responses. Ayan. So in doing our percentage, you only need to divide 50 by 100 multiplied by 100. Okay po, so that would retain its score as their percentage because it's 100. So ranking, that would be descending from higher or the highest to lowest. 1, we have 2, we have 2, and then we have 4. So this can be as our presentation of data. So how do we pattern it in our institution data? We usually erase the side lines here. Uh, and then at the same time, draw table by means of using two line or 2-point line here. Draw table, and then yan. So this is how we present table on our chapter 4. So that can be named, say for instance, table 1.1. If there is a follow-up table for this one, you use table 1.1. Pero kung iba na yung table nyo, you use 1.0 already because 2.0 na or 2.1 na yung susunod. So yan, table 1.1 that can be titled as Challenges of Students Faced in the New Normal. So this is just an example, by the way. This is not a serious type of research, but this is a solid example on how you try to present a checklist form of data based from your tallied records na ganito. Okay po. So yan, that talks about the checklist. How about when we talk about the rank type? Okay po. Rank type is somehow similar to checklist. But the difference is that you will be needing the mean already. So the lowest possible score there is 1 and the highest possible score there is 5. So yan, 'di ba? May 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diyan. Kung alin diyan. And at the same time, you try to add and divide by how many responses they have in financially unstable, say for instance, and then you'll try to present it using somehow this type of table. Let's try to copy and let's try to at least alter some things here. So table 1.2 for instance, say for instance, ito na yung factors. Factors faced ba ito? Factors faced. Okay, factors. Ano yan? Factors faced in the new normal. This is just an example, by the way. This is not proper, ha? Okay. Ito yung mga factors. Okay. Ito yung mga factors. So, you'll try to copy and paste that here. Ayan. So, we have here the factors. We have here now the mean. You can try to remove the percentage already because that's not much of a significance. So, yan. We have now here the mean. Say, for instance, we have 2.20, 5.0. Halimbawa lang 'to po, 4.0 and then 3.00. Ayan. So yan, ranking, say for instance, we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So that's how we present. We can remove the total because this is very insignificant already, talking about the mean as well as the ranking. So yan, you can try to place here again the double line for the tabular presentation that you have. Okay. So that's how we present table for the ranking type of questionnaire. So I hope everyone can follow po Ranking type, we have now from checklist and ranking type. Enumeration type, I think this will vary in accordance to the responses of your respondents. Okay po, so we will not be using this one. And then the checklist will be, this has fixed answer po may mga fixed answer na to. And then report of this one would vary in accordance to the general number or the general result na natamaan ng respondents. So yan, hindi na natin yan kailangang tabular, kundi yung result na lang or yung pinaka-average or at the same time kung gusto nyo percentage that can be. Okay. We now have the Likert scale or Likert scale. You usually encounter this in the evaluation tools that you have. Okay po, masabi ka mo, indicated below are the challenges faced by the students in the new normal learning. Check one in each item based on the following legends. So masabi yan, always a challenge, number 5, a challenge, number 4, sometimes a challenge, and so on. So the usual pattern for this one, and usually in your questionnaire, this must have a numbering, at least numbering, so that it must be properly organized. So we have now here 1 to 6 challenges, but then in making Likert scale, you usually have at least 10 na papilian po. Ang iba, meron pang others to specify. Okay, so this is the usual pattern or the usual uh, structure of a Likert scale. But if in somehow you encounter this kind of Likert scale, possible po yan. Di ba kadalasan sa election ganyan? 1, 2, 3, 4, tapos bibilugan mo kung ano. Pero ano lang yan, kung bobotohin mo lang or hindi. So yan, that is part of a Likert scale. And at the same time, the number line Likert scale, this is also accepted. You try to, halimbawa, you try to assess whether or not internet connection, okay. Internet connection is always a factor. No, this should not be not a factor. And this should be always a factor. Okay. Not a factor, always a factor. Always a factor should have the highest number here. That should be. And then not a factor must have the smallest number. So that's the reason why. And at the same time, this is similar to this case. Not a factor yung nasa number 1 and then always a factor yung nasa number 7. The higher the number, that must be the always a challenge or always a factor. So this is somehow similar to this one. You have to take note of that because this is just another portion or another structure of Likert scale. If you want to spend much on your paper production or in your questionnaire production, you can utilize this one, this kind of Likert scale. Okay po, may number line or kaya bullet form. But if you try to save much, you can utilize this one. Quantification of this Likert scale will be presented later on because this would talk about also the utilization of Google Forms and how do we create Google Forms, as well as quantifying Google Forms using the uh, data or the data from the Google Form. So yan, I hope this is clear po. Okay, we have here, sir, dalawa po yung rank under table 1.5. Okay, thank you for the correction, sir. Dapat ata is 2.5. Okay po. So we can utilize 2.5 here as well as we can utilize here 2.5. But in the Excel po, once you talk about ranking, they usually use 2, 2 or kaya 3, 3 kung they have similar values for frequency. So that's the reason why it's either of the two of are correct. Okay naman po siya gamitin. So 2.5, 2.5, that can already be very good. Okay po, so that's how we present tables from uh, the ranking type, the checklist type, and later on the second part of our session would be the Likert type. I'll be presenting you how to tabulate data uh, based from the Likert scale format that you have in your Google form. Okay po? Sige. Okay. We now proceed to the validation of instrument. Once we talk about the instrument, we are talking about the questionnaire as well as uh, the interview guide question that you have and the ethical consideration that we must always keep in place and at the same time keep in mind. Validation, this can happen by the letter of acceptance to professional or professionals to validate the tool that you have. It's either questionnaire or interview guide. Okay, evidences the tools were evaluated. So, sa ibang school, they try to require at least three professionals to validate, to edit, and at the same time, to critique your questionnaire, specifically if it's self-made. Because we are researchers and we need to try to ask or to seek the assistance of those experts in a particular field that you are trying to researching. So as much as possible, you try to validate it with the proper professionals or at the same time doctors relating to that field that you are trying to have in your data collection through questionnaire and interview. We have here ethical considerations that you must remember. Present all permits and approvals to the concerned offices or department having jurisdiction over them. This is always required because if it's not required, then you might be reprimanded or at the same time that can be a venture for what do you call this one, legal prosecutions. So as much as possible, try to secure all permits and approvals in gathering data, whether you are touching families, you're touching students. So as much as possible, there must always be permits. Yan. Ito yung consent and assent na sinasabi natin to the and by the respondents. Consent to the respondents and assent na nag-approve ang respondents na pwede silang kolektahan ng data. So those are the considerations we have to keep in mind in collecting or at the same time distributing our questionnaire. Okay po ha. So validation in terms of validating data presented on the different indices of your questionnaire, and at the same time, ethical consideration, talking about the permits, consents, and assents of your or by the respondents that you have. So I hope that's clear because that's very important in research paper production, the validation as well as the ethical consideration you have to keep in mind. So yan. Okay. This Google form would be on our second portion of our talk. And this time we will be having at least 15-minute break because Google Forms would already entail different attention and at the same time analysis. So we'll be back at least mga 10 10:13 or 10:15. So I'll be back 10:15 or 10:13. So see you again on that particular time. Will anyone contact the canteen po for the requested snacks? My MG has not arrived. Thank you po.
that's lost in the dark, we can be. How long must we sit and wait for a hero? How long must we waste today for tomorrow? To our people that's lost in the dark, we can be guiding hand, shining star. If we only could see that the hero is here in our hearts, young as we are. We can stand and make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Stand firm, be a guiding light to the nation. Stand proud, let's unite in one celebration. With the power of God from above, we can tell all the world of His love. Standing firm in the faith, doing all of our work from the heart. We've got to start to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. For together we're strong now, it won't be for long till we heal this broken land. If we live what we've learned, take this time to take our turn to make a stand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one. We can make the stand. How long? How long must we sit and wait for a hero? How long must we waste today for tomorrow? To our people that's lost in the dark, we can be guiding hand, shining star. If we only could see that the hero is here in our hearts, young as we are. We can stand and make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make us stand. Stand firm, be a guiding light to the nation. Stand proud, let's unite in one celebration. With the power of God from above, we can tell all the world of His love. Standing firm in the faith, doing all of our work from the heart. We've got to start to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make us stand. For together we're strong now, it won't be for long till we heal this broken land. If we live what we've learned, take this time to take our turn to make a stand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make us stand. Make us stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work, gotta change to change the world. 'Cause we cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one. We can make the stand. one like the Father, and of the Son, so that the world may believe and be one. How long must we sit and wait for a hero? How long must we waste today for tomorrow? To our people that's lost in the dark, we can be guiding hand, shining star. If we only could see that the hero is here in our hearts, young as we are. We can stand and make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Got a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Stand firm, be a guiding light to the nation. Stand proud, let's unite in one celebration. With the power of God from above, we can tell all the world of His love. Standing firm in the faith, doing all of our work from the heart. We've got to start to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. For together we're strong now, it won't be for long till we heal this broken land. If we live what we've learned, take this time to take our turn to make a stand. Let that voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one and to make a stand. Make a stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Let a voice out inside that we can't keep on hiding. Gotta work to make things work. Gotta change to change the world. We cannot deny, we gotta give it a try. We are never too young to come as one. We can make a stand.
Thank you for waiting and welcome back again to our training session in research. This time we will now be introducing Google Forms and how are these being used in the utilization of distribution of questionnaire through online methodologies. So we are using Google Forms in order for us to distribute questionnaire electronically through their email addresses. You can give it through in a form of group chats, or at the same time in a specific mail going to your respondents. So in order for us to have to manipulate Google Form, we must secure a Google account and at the same time try to log in. So from Google, you'll be searching Google and at the same time try to search for Google Form, and you have to find the Google Form sign in, this one. Do not click this Google Workspace because Google Workspace requires you to pay something. So Google Form sign in, you have to click this one and try to sign in. This time, I will try to sign in with my other account. So I'll try to remove this account and try to log in a particular account that we'll be using for this presentation. So this is the dashboard of your Google Forms. Once you try to sign in your Google Form, you will be redirected to your dashboard. So here are the contents, the possible contents, the recently uh, given surveys that I have implemented in all the departments of SLMCS. So this is the dashboard, and at the same time, when we try to make or create a new form, we have to click for the blank format. And after that, you'll be redirected to this kind of blank form. So this is the usual picture or the system or the face of the Google form. So questions, responses, settings. You will be formulating your instruction in your Google form under questions. Okay po, untitled form because you have to rename it. So say for instance, thank you po Ma'am Fernie. Thank you and congratulations Sir JP. Thank you po. So untitled form. So you will be renaming that. You can just highlight it and rename it. Say for instance, evaluation tool for training. So this is just an example. And at the same time, you will be using this portion here to at least give your instruction or at the same time the description of the evaluation. Sabi ka mo, this evaluation is formulated to assess the recently concluded training. Please check one in each item, say for instance, based from the following legends. So this is your instruction as well as the definition of your evaluation for training. So 5, say for instance, always agree, or say for instance, that would be satisfactorily agree. 3, say for instance, agree. And then 2, as disagree. And then 1 as strongly disagree. Ayan. Disagree. Ayan. So we have now the instruction as well as simple definition for your training. So how do we construct table or how do we construct question using the different format being given to us by Google Form? So we have different choices here and we'll only be using here at least 3, but I'll be orienting you in each type. Short answer would require a particular question that can be answered by short answer only. So say for instance, do you believe that blank, 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 and then the respondents will try to answer it using their short answer for that particular question. So let's try to see it in a preview form. So this is now the preview form of the Google form that can be seen by your respondents. So as you can see here, do you believe that? And then the answer can answer here anything that they believe at. So that is how short answer works. Okay po ha. So that is just a preview of a short answer. Next one. We also have here paragraph. This is somehow similar to short answer. The pattern or the structure of a long paragraph answer here is somehow similar to the pattern of short answer. The only difference is they can construct, or the respondents can construct a longer paragraph compared to the short answer here format. So that's just the same pattern, the same structure. Now, let's proceed to multiple choice. Multiple choice will have only one possible selection of answer. So if in case you'll try to have, say for instance, what are the challenges encountered during so on so forth during pandemic, say for instance, so masabi kang unstable financial income, and another option would be that can be uh, family problem. Yeah, those are examples only, ha, so that we can try to present on what is the structure, or uh what this multiple choice looks like when presented to the respondents. Okay po, family problems, say for instance, and then lack of resources. Yan. How can we see this in, if you are going to be the respondent? Let's try to have a preview. So yan. What are the challenges encountered during pandemic? Say for instance, you can only, or the respondent can only click once here. They cannot select more than one here. Because if that's the case, you wanted them to select more than one answer, you will not be using any more multiple choice. Okay po ha, you will already be using checkboxes. Okay po ha. In checkboxes, respondents can check, or at the same time can select more than one answer. So let's try to have a preview of this one. So yan. Say for instance, I have two answers here, unstable and then family problem. I can already select two or more responses. Okay po. So two or more answers here, so that the challenges here are not only pertaining to one, but one or more, or that can be. So uh we use check boxes. Okay po, in order for us to select more than one selection or index here. The next one would be the drop down list. The drop down list is actually somehow similar to multiple choice. The only difference is that it is just a drop down structure. So say for instance, let's have this one. What are the challenges encountered during blah, blah, blah. Okay, preview. Excuse me. Okay, we have here the drop down menu. Choose. You can only select one. Yan. So if it's lack of resources, family problem, or unstable financial capacity, say for instance. So that's the how we differentiate multiple choice from the check boxes and then the drop down. So you try to construct your question based from these materials. How do you add up another form of question? You can try to click this cross sign with encircled cross sign and then add question. You'll notice that additional portion or type of entry will be added to your Google form. So say for instance, you will now be creating a Likert scale. How do you do that? Okay po. So let's try to have challenges of students in the new normal. Okay po ha. So number one would be lack of internet connectivity. The next one, say for instance, connectivity. The next one we would be having here, financial difficulty. The next one, say for instance, uh, proximity difficulty. Yan. So we have here halimbawa ngayon tatlo lang yan. And then once we try to put linear scale here, okay. Linear scale would talk about 1 to 5. And at the same time, you'll try to label this one. Label ngayon ng number 1 would be not a factor. And then ito yung number 5, always a factor. Just like what I have presented to you earlier. Challenges in the new normal. Let's say for instance, ang example sa day is financial difficulty. Ayan. Let's try to look at the example of a linear scale. So linear scale would look like this one. If these are the challenges, say for instance, one example is financial difficulty, under linear structuring under Google Forms, that would look like this one. Before submitting it, each of the respondents are required to at least place a particular answer in this linear scale. This is just one type of a Likert scale also. Okay. Next one. We have now the multiple choice grid item. So going back, challenges of students in the new normal. Number one, say for instance, again, financial difficulty. Next one, lack of internet connectivity. The next one, say for instance, we have proximity issues. Ayan. Boundary issues. Yan. Halimbawa lang yan po yan ha. Sige. So we have here the rows and then under the column, you'll now be putting the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we have now here the example of the usual pattern for evaluation tool, the Likert scale. So let's try to preview it. Ayan po. So this is an example of the multiple choice grid format in your Google form. One can only select a particular number here in a particular index. So say for instance, under financial difficulty, they can select only one per item or index. Yan. So isa-isa lang po sa multiple choice grid item ang pwedeng ilagay. Hindi po yun pwedeng dalawa-dalawa. Kasi kung dalawa-dalawa na po yan, we usually use the checkbox grid item. Okay po ha. So let's try to preview the checkbox grid. Ayan po. Participants can already select more than one or even all kapag checkbox grid na yan. Okay po that's the reason why we only use multiple choice grid item. Okay po, so that's it on how we construct uh, an evaluation tool or at the same time questionnaire in the Google form. We can try to also edit this one. You can try to put a particular background here by clicking this paint one, and at the same time you can choose image. So say for instance we'll be using this one, and then click insert, and that's it. You already have a particular picture there. If ever you'll try to have your own image, you'll select under uploads and then click browse, and then select any of the background that you'd like to appear in your evaluation tool or in your questionnaire. You can crop it and at the same time click done. Ayan, so this is the design that we'll be having, say for instance, as our example. So yan. Now, let us now try to understand the Google Forms functionality and how can we manage the Google Form. Okay, as what I have mentioned a while ago, that Google Form requires you to be signed up or signed in a particular Google account. You are required to have your Google account in order for you to manage the Google Form formulation. So say for instance, I have here one particular Google account that are being used for me to distribute the different evaluation tools utilized in our school. Okay po. So yan, I have different evaluation tools here. Ayan. So let's try to have an example of how are these uh, being quantified by the Google form. Okay. As you try to remember, I have sent you research development needs assessment, and that quantifies the different departments, the research types, the research title making on how you have or you can do the different parts of research papers. Okay po ha. And at the same time, uh, responses are recorded in summarized form using this one. So you can have the data presented here in pie graph as well as bar graph, but this is not yet. This is not yet the final form or the final product. You still need to analyze, you still need to understand different things here because the structure here is not complete. Okay po ha, kulang pa po siya. Once you try to print it, you cannot interpret it more fully because isa-isa siya. Oh. May mga kulang-kulang pang mga information. That's the reason why under responses po, we click. By the way, if it's accepting responses, you have to try to click this one. Therefore, that would mean na nag-accept siya ng responses coming from the different persons. But when you try to click to off the accepting responses, that would not accept any more responses. So aside from that, Google Forms functionality would include the tallied records of the responses coming from the respondents. So you'll just try to click this positive sign na may green. Okay po ha. Just click this one. And at the same time, you will be redirected to what we so-called as the tally record summarized to us by Excel. So yan, may tally record po tayo. So we try to download it. Click file, download. Oh, okay, asan tayo? Click file, download, click Microsoft Excel.xlsx. Yan. Automatically downloaded. Open the file. Ayan, na-open na natin ang file, but this is not yet the final product that you'll be having. So in order for us to manipulate this one, just to, let's try to remove first the names in order for us to have the confidentiality of information here. So this is not yet the final product of your assessment, or at the same time, the different things you need to consider on interpreting the data. This is just a tally record without yet the final results. You still need to the data clean this, and at the same time apply different tools in order for you to quantify the results that were made by the Google form. So in this location, we are having the different responses. We are talking about the department here. We are using SSP, BED, head, SHS, bed, and then gubat. So we will try to count how many HED personnel have responded to this kind of research or to this kind of evaluation tool. So we will be inputting here the respondents. Say for instance, we have head, we have SSP, we have the bed, we have the gubat, and then, have I forgotten something? SHS. Okay, SHS. We have SHS. So how do we count? Are you going to count them one by one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is not correct. Okay po ha. As much as possible, try to use formula. So we will now be starting to have our cell referencing, talking about the count if function that's not reflected on the invitation, but at the same time this is very salient. Let us start with the count function. Count function will count if function will count the number of a particular indicator in a particular range. So say for instance, this is our range. So count if open parenthesis, then drag on the range, click F4 to lock the range, and then comma, then proceed to the HED or the location of the HED, then close parenthesis, and then click enter. So based from this location or based from this range, we can already count the number of HED who responded in the research development needs assessment. So this would have 17 responses. Okay po. So another one, when trying to copy and pasting the formula, you can just click the positive cross sign here. And then at the same time, they will already redirect you to the number of counts that we have uh, in our development needs assessment. So we have 17 responses coming from the HED, 9 responses coming from the SSP, 15 responses coming from the BED and Gubat Campus 19, and SHS we have 17. So we have now the data that were collected using the COUNTIF function in our department location. Okay po ha, sige. Now, we already have here the type of data that is being too broad. This is too broad. Why? Ang haba-haba dito po ng ating descriptors. How do we make this as a more or in a thinner layer? Just simply highlight this one. Highlight the mga the side subtitle or title of this tallied record. And at the same time, you can click text directions. You can click this one, rotate text up, so that we can try to rotate the text. And at the same time, we can click this one and then click the corners and then this one so that it can be properly, where is that? Ayan. Wait lang ha. Unhide. Ayan. So we have here okay, adjust na lang natin siguro ito. We have here a more a better way of having our data. So hindi na siya spacious parehas ng kanina. So usually in a 5 4 3 2 1 Likert scale, we usually use mean as our data that will be presented on a tabular form. Let us just go to the bottom part. And how do we use yan. Let us just go to the bottom part and how do we compute for the weighted mean in terms of the individual indexes presented on the upper portion of this tallied record. So we will be using let's just insert some of rows here or columns. So yan. We will be using the COUNTIF function. We will be trying to count the numbers coming from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. In order for us to count the number of responses here, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And at the same time, let's now use the COUNTIF function. COUNTIF function, and then open parenthesis, highlight the range, press F4 to lock the range, press comma, and then click on number 5, and then close parenthesis, click enter. So there are no 5. There are no 5 answers here. Okay po, sige. So once we try to drag it down, we'll be having the number of responses coming from number 4, 3, 2, and then 1. Okay po, so that's how we do counting. So let's try to sum it up. How many or what is the sum of the overall responses? So click equal sign sum, and then at the same time highlight, then click enter. So we have 77. Is this similar to the number of counts that we have a while ago? Let's try. So we also have 77. So this is correct, 77. So another one, when you try to at least have this kind of formula, count if, and then go to the location of the range where you will try to search the number 4, press F4, comma, click number 5, press enter, and then click OK. So we have some range, enter. We also have 77. So in order for you to copy and paste formula from one location to another, you have to be very careful of the placement, specifically if it's fixed or not. Kasi Excel will count even if it would take a particular space, a particular comma, depending on the instruction that you are giving. So say for instance, this one, the dollar sign here lacks the location. That would mean na kapag kinapi-paste mo yung formula pababa, the location will not change. That is the purpose of the dollar change. That is an absolute fix na sinasabi natin dyan. So, once you try to drag down na may nakalagay na dollar sign, the location will not change. Unlike here, na kapag drinag down mo yan pababa, the location will change one step at a time. That's the reason why you can try to at least copy and paste it downwards. Okay po. So that is how we usually do quantifying data. So yan. Let us try to copy other data here. Pero this time, we will be changing the location. For number 3 na tayo eh. Control Shift, ganyan. Tapos, okay. I-enter. Then, copy and paste it here. Okay. Let's remove the dollar sign. And then let's put here the dollar sign in each of the cells so that we can try to copy it or drag it down smoothly. Yan, iniisa-isa po natin. Removing and then placing dollar signs. Oh, ito. Si sir? Wala po mo. Opo. You can just press F4 so that you can try to remove the dollar sign or add dollar sign. I am clicking F4 so that we can try to lock, and at the same time we can try to unlock the different location. Yan. So say for instance, hanggang dito lang muna tayo. We can already drag it down. Yan. And at the same time, we can already copy and paste it here. Bakit anong nangyari dito? Bakit naging ito? Okay. Okay. So we have here, this one. Ito, dapat. Ayan. Ayan. So we have now here the different results coming from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the results here would count that number 4 here reflected 9 times here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, bakit 8 na lang? Okay, 9 times. Tingnan nga natin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so that's correct already. So how do we compute using this material? How do we compute for the weighted mean? Let's just add another column here. So we can try to provide a formula here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We have to multiply 5 by the number of values indicated herein. So yan, equal sign 5 or BAT multiplied by this one, and then click enter. Then we can try to copy and paste it here. It's the same. But at the same time, copying it going to the right would entail this blue cell reference to be locked in order for it not to be moved from one placement to another. B18, ilock po. B82, ilock. F4, press F4 lang po. And then, yan. So we have now the results for the different products when 4 is multiplied to each individual indicators here. So how do we construct the mean, or how do we compute the mean already? So that would entail the sum of this one divided by the number of responses. So we can try to put here at least the 2 decimal places. So we have now the 2.32 as the resulting quotient from the sum and products of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ayan. So we can copy and paste the formula, and then we'll now try to have the results. Ayan, medyo mabababa sila. So 2.38 2.32, 2.64, 2.66, 2.73, and then 2.91, and then 2.83. So we already have here the different means. But how do we interpret these numbers? Okay po ha, when trying to use a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Likert scale, in order for you to interpret the results that you have computed a while ago, you have to subtract the highest score, which is 5, to the lowest score, which is 1, which will result to number 4. Okay po ha. In order for you to get the gap, you have to divide this by 5, and then you will try to have 4 divided by 5, that would result to 0.8. So 0.80 will now be your gap in order for you to get the legend for your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So say for instance, the lowest possible score that you have is 1.00 because that is reflected here. 1. 1 lang talaga yung pinaka-possible na maging lowest score. Okay po ha, let me format this one for a minute. Text lang natin po. Okay. So 0.80 is our gap. So you'll be starting with 1.00, going to 1.00 plus 0.08, that would result to 1.80. Tama? So 1.80 plus again 0.80, that would result to ilan po? We have 2.6 ba? 1.8 plus 0.8 to be sure. We have 2.60, right? Plus 0.8. We have 3.4 or 3.40 plus 0.8, that would be 11, ay hindi. Bakit naging 8 na to? We have 4.2, and then the highest one would be 5.00. So that would be our legend. So after 1.80, that would be followed by 1.81. After 2.60, that would be followed by 2.61. After 3.4, that would be followed by 3.41. After 4.20, that will be followed by 3.21, going to 5.00 as our highest number or value. Okay po. So this time, you usually start or interpret 1 point or the lowest portion of the legend into not a factor. Dito na tayo sa sometimes a factor. Dito, a factor. Pwede natin dyang rarely a factor. Rarely a factor. Sometimes a factor. Pwede ditong a factor. And then always a factor. Now, this would now be your pattern in your interpretation of these values, these numbers. So how do you interpret this? How do you interpret this? This would be dependent on the computation that you have in your legend scale. Okay po, so we have now constructed the legend scale, and how do we automatically place it in your Excel portion? So you started with 1.00, 1.01, 1.02, and then drag it downward up to 5.00. Ayan, 5.00. So we have now here 2 decimal places at least. 1.00 to 5.00. and then try to place not a factor from 1.00 to 1.80. This is not a factor. And then drag it down to 1.80. Ayan, not a factor. Then 1.81 to 2.60. We have rarely a factor. Ayan. Let's copy and paste it up to 2.60. Yan, rarely a factor. Next, we have 2.61 to 3.4, sometimes a factor. Copy. 3 hanggang 3.40, correct? Next, a factor hanggang 4.20. Next, we have always a factor, 4.21 to 5.00. Yan. Then we can copy and paste it until 5.00. So we have now the data. By the way, this cannot only be used here. You can try to use it in your class record when you try to interpret or at the same time put a particular verbal interpretation in your record based upon a particular legend. You can use this scale. Okay po. So how do we connect data here? By simply clicking equal sign, lookup. This is now the lookup function. Lookup, open parenthesis, lookup value. The value is 2.38. So comma, go to the sheet 3 where your range is located. So highlight the range 1.00 to 5.0. F4, press F4. Click comma. Proceed to the result vector or what you are trying to interpret. So that is the not a factor, rarely a factor, sometimes a factor, always a factor. So highlight them and then click again F4 and press enter. So once you press enter, that can already be interpreted by the Excel. Copy and paste it and you already have your interpretation. So this is now ready for the presentation or the tabular presentation that we'll be having. So yan, we have already utilized the Excel created by the Google form by means of the Likert scale that we have or the responses from the Likert scale that we have. Okay po, how do we present it through tabular presentation? Let's try to have a blank sheet. So let's proceed to the records that we have. And then the blank sheets here. Okay. So in our case, we have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 as our data here. So we'll be using 7 or at least 8 for the subheadings. So the data here would talk about this one. The data here. So say for instance, under research type, this is just an example. Under the pure research, using the Likert scale, we also have applied research. We also have qualitative research. We also have quantitative research. So, yan. Say for instance, ito lang yung data natin. And then, we have here the weighted mean. And then, the interpretation, as well as the ranking. Ayan. So, we have weighted mean of 2.38 based from the result. We also have 2.32 and then 2.64 and then 2.66. Okay. As you will notice, under the interpretation, we have interpreted it wrong. But at the same time, I'm just trying to give to you how we can try to interpret a particular number based upon its title. So our title here is talking about the research development needs assessment. So therefore, we are not trying to assess factors here, but I am just trying to at least give to you how we construct the interpretation. So in this case, if this is our case in the interpretation of data, we don't use factor, but rather we use this as low, average, or at the same time competent in terms of this pure research, applied research, qualitative research. So the very first one there would not talk about the factor, but rather not known at all. That can be. Ayan. Not known at all. You can try to replace that. Rarely known. That can be. Rarely po, hindi rely. Rarely. Ayan. Rarely known. Sometimes known. Known. Competent. We can try to place your competent. Yan. So we can try to locate here the uh, results. Rarely known. So we have 2.38 as rarely known. And 2.32 as rarely known again. We have sometimes known. And then sometimes known again. So yan. We have now completed the result for the research types. We have already tabulated it. And as you can see here, we already have the table without yet the rank. How do we rank using Excel? We rank Excel based from the category or based from the weighted mean results. So you'll try to place here equal sign, rank, and the number that you are trying to rank, press comma, and then the range, press F4 and then comma, and then the order 0 as descending order. So press enter and then copy and paste them one by one here. So since we only use 4 data here, we only try to drag it in a 4 location. Let's try to limit this into 4 only. So we already have our ranking using the Excel. We have 1, we have 2, 2. We have 3, we have 4, we have 3. So yan. Ranking is in decreasing order. So we already have computed and at the same time presented the Likert scale as well as computed and analyzed the Likert scale into a tabular presentation. So this is the usual form. You can try to have a title here, table 1.0, say for instance. Table 1.0 talking about the research types. Research types. And then edit the table. You can still put here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the formatting. So yan, let's try to have 1.1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And at the same time, edit the table that you'll be having here. Draw table, eraser. You can try to delete this. Sidelines. Ayan, na-delete na po natin. Tsaka draw table and then proceed to the borders. Double border siya sa taas. Ayan. So we can try to remove the space, some spaces here. And at the same time, highlight or bold the other things here. So we already have the fixed table. You only need to interpret it. So far, do you have any questions po? Wala pa naman. Okay, thank you for listening regarding the data quantification, tallying, and analysis using simple statistical tools in Excel. Okay. Let us now proceed to the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. Presenting data would entitle you to at least explain the data gathered that you have in your research questionnaire distribution. It can be through tabular or numerical, the textual, the graphical, through line, bar, histogram, area, scatter plot, and etc. So that's how you present data. It can be combined from graphical to textual, or at the same time tabular to textual, or vice versa. You can try to present data by presenting at least 2 forms of presentation. Okay, in terms of the interpretation of data, we have first to fourth level of interpretation. The first one is summarizing or definitions or fact question that would entail the first-hand interpretation of your tabular presentation. So you have to explain the result based from the table that you have in terms of its first level of interpretation. Under the second level of interpretation of data, you have here the analysis interpretation or the questioning portion. you can try to relate already here some literatures or studies connected to your research paper. Okay po, under the third level, you can try to hypothesize, predict questions, or at the same time, give additional questions uh, that cannot be answered yet by the present study. And then the fourth level of interpretation would be the critical analysis or evaluation, or you can include here some opinions or notions that you have in the present result of the study. So that's talking about the presentation and interpretation of your data. The next one would be summary, findings, conclusions, and recommendations. You have to take note that the results and findings must be patterned upon your statement of the problems. The number of results and findings that you will be having must be the number of your statement of the problem. Do not present results that are not connected to the statement of the problem. The next one is conclusion. The number again of conclusions depends on the number of findings that you have. You will pattern your conclusion making into the number of findings that you'd have. Okay po. So another one is the recommendation, which are patterned from your conclusions. And the number of recommendations may exceed the number of conclusion because recommendations may have the possible researchable topics connected to the finding out of the result na na-encounter nyo sa results nyo. To finding out or to at least to have another study for that particular result or for that particular intriguing result that you have, and you will be trying to recommend it in your recommendations. So do you have any questions so far? I think I have made chapter 4 and chapter 5 very fast because of the time constraints. Okay po, so far you don't have any questions po. The chat box is open so that we can entertain some questions. If none, then therefore I think I can at least introduce to you what I was into. Okay po ha. So yan. Later on na to, okay, sige, research formatting muna tayo. Font style usual times New Roman, font size 12, 1.5 spacing, margins, left side po yan, 1.5, upper and lower and right side margins, 1 inch, and page numbering, upper right side of the paper, pages before chapters 1 to 5 have paging with small Roman numerals. Ayan. Pages from chapters 1 to 5 must be in numeral form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 continuously. There should be no page number in the first cover page, chapter, as well as chapter cover page. So first page of chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 must not include number, but they are still counted. So let me introduce to you for those who are research inclined as well as data inclined. I am inviting you to be part of this Sparta. This is Smarter Philippines through data analytics, R&D, training, and adoption. This has been conglomerated by the different organizations such as the Development Academy of the Philippines, DOST, DOST Fishered Analytics Association of the Philippines, as well as Course Bank. So they aim to graduate 30,000 30,000 graduates in data science and analytics. If ever you have time, kindly please try to search coursebank.ph because they will train you on the different things regarding data. So this is I, and this is my badge given to me on my LinkedIn page as a data analyst, as a first data analyst graduate in their agency. So yan. So let's now proceed to open forum. I am open for questions, for clarifications, and at the same time for other opinions po. Take your time. The floor is open. You can open the video or at the same time speak. The chat box is also available. You can try to give me your questions po. Okay, so far wala naman. I think I will be giving you copy of some important material that you can use in your research endeavor. Okay, so I'll be copying and pasting some information here coming from the post of I can copy. Bakit hindi kaya? Ayun. So you can copy and paste that. These are very helpful. This is coming from the account of Neil Kavinsky, FB account posted last December 3, 2021. And you can try to at least use that as your reference when trying to create or to make research papers. So yan. Thank you, Ma'am Mary Ann Hintalan. Very informative and helpful. It's just that I was not able to focus especially in the computation of data. Okay lang yan, Ma'am. I think medyo maano pa talaga yung data, specifically maliliit yung figures natin dito. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I am hoping that everyone is well. And at the same time, I am inviting everyone to accomplish the evaluation form. This will serve as your attendance and at the same time participation in this event. So the evaluation form is already located in your chat box. So kindly please take time to answer the evaluation tool. Thank you. That is in the form of Google form. We have also from Sister Malu. Thank you, Sir JP, for sharing the use of Google Form. However, I wasn't able to catch up the process of tabulation using Excel. Perhaps a copy of video will be of great help for me. Okay, thank you for Sister Malu. Kindly please accomplish the Google form because they will require you to give me your email addresses so that I can send to you a video presentation of what we have already tackled here. Thank you po. Thank you, sister. So let me end this session that whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. From Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 to 24. Let's have the closing prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Gracious Father, thank you for making this day successful. As we depart, Lord, we ask you to be with us. Your presence has been in this place from the start to the end. I want to say thank you. Lord, as we leave this place, let us go out there and be the salt and light. May we put into practice what we have discussed and learned. Help us to make a difference in this world for the glory of your name. In Jesus' name, we believe and pray. Amen. Saint Vincent de Paul and Saint Luis de Marillac, pray for us. Our dear guardian angels, watch over us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you so much once again. And good luck to your research paper endeavor, both in school or in your thesis. Bye everyone. Thank you for coming. Salamat po. Thank you, Sir Marco. Thank you po. Salamat. Bye-bye po. Thank you, Ma'am Cynthia. Thank you po.